2026. I want to welcome everyone to the first public budget hearing for 2026. Appreciate everybody showing up. So we'll start off with a roll call. To my left is Selectman Jeff Miller. To his left is Selectman Mark Griffin. I am Dwayne Gilman. Department heads that are present are Town Administrator Brenda Pearl, Road Agent Russ Pearl, Fire Chief Tom Blanchett, Police Chief Dana Flanders. If everybody wouldn't mind standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A lot of familiar faces in here, so I can just go through the quick housekeeping. There are bathrooms located in the hallway, emergency exits, two ends of the building. Any discussions between yourself and others in the crowd, be cognitive of your neighbor trying to listen to what we're saying up here. Sometimes it affects the recording out back. If you have to step in the hallway, that's fine. Just trying to avoid issues with YouTube. Due to the cold and the weather, I'm sure people are tuning in that way. Speaking of YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube and you have questions, please forward the questions to either the department heads or town administrator or the selectmen. Just you do an email, give them a call. I mean, just because you're home watching it on YouTube doesn't mean you're not a willing participant in helping us put this budget together. We're interested in what everybody has to say. So just because you're not here doesn't mean you're not part of the process. So please reach out. It's not considered under anything under 91A or request or anything. It's just discussions. I'd prefer if you have a direct question for police, call the police chief. If you have a direct question for the fire chief, call the fire chief. But anything else, please get a hold of either Brenda or one of the Board of Selectmen. So, kind of a format we're going to start off with. The format we're going to start off is Mark is going to cover the operating budget. Jeff will cover all the revenues. I will then go through the warrant articles. It's my understanding of there's a couple warrant articles that someone might want to speak about, and we'll allow that person to speak on behalf of the warrant article. And then once we've completed all that, we open the floor for questioning and conversation. Just keep in mind this budget is a work in progress. It's not a solid work product. Comments, questions, ideas are all welcome, and will be welcome up until we can put this together, the final draft, and get it ready for town meeting. So the ultimate goal for town meeting is to go in, and then the ultimate goal is to have everybody on the same page moving forward this budget. Will that happen? Maybe, maybe not. But at least we can start working today and trying to get this to a decent day on town meeting day. So, anything else from the board?
Do you want to talk about the second budget?
Yep, I just asked to remind me, and you had to do it already. So, currently, there's going to be a second budget hearing. This is the first, there'll be a second, and currently it's scheduled Wednesday, February 4th, 2026 at 6 p.m. We have just learned that's also the school board meeting. So, we may alter one way or another. So, we're going to try to accommodate not having it on the same day so people can attend both, and because obviously the school board meeting does directly affect our tax base as well. So, be nice if everybody can attend each one of them. So we'll work on that. We'll have to put a notice out for that. Let's figure that out.
If we can announce it tonight, we don't have to post it in the Concord Monitor and do the 7 days and all that stuff. So if we come up with a date before we leave tonight, before we adjourn, that would be the best.
Don't we have a regular meeting on Tuesday?
Yep.
We do.
There'll be a Tuesday.
At the end, or?
No, because.
No, it's got to be past it has to be past the 3rd.
Oh, yes.
It's late.
Yeah, we can do it Thursday.
Yeah, it's cutting lines. I don't want to cut
Yeah.
lines.
Is it Thursday?
Yep.
Thursday at 6.
Good. So we've now going to schedule, and this will be the public notice section, second budget hearing will be on Thursday, February 5th, 2026, 6 p.m. So that's all set. So as I stated, I'll kick it off. Mark will kick it off as far as he'll go through the operating budget. And then Jeff will do revenues and I'll do the warrant articles. I'll give the floor to Mark.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Budgets should be over there. I'm gonna kind of go through page by page, top to bottom, and kind of highlight some of the increases, and for some of them, it's a little easier to figure out why. So we will start with the Selectmen's office, and we have some increases in data processing line and also in professional dues, training and services. Altogether, year over year, with salaries, we're looking at an $11,212 difference. Second section is audits. Year over year, we're looking at a $1,125 difference. Assessment and maps, we are scheduled as a town, I think this is our 5th year.
Yes.
So we are scheduled for a full assessment, full town-wide assessment. And you see one line in there that is nominally larger, and that would be for the assessments for that every 5th year phenomena. That would be a $60,000 increase. And overall, for assessments and maps, we're looking at a $59,400 increase. Legal is staying the same. Employee benefits. We have FICA and retirement have gone up, but you will also notice, if you look around the budget a little, you get to the library and notice that there's a deficit. So we took the FICA and the retirement system out of the library and put it all together as one in employee benefits. So a lot of the increase you see there on that first line for FICA for the $43,000 comes from the library, and same with the retirement system. Altogether, with all those changes in health and dental and workman's comp, we're looking at $86,076. Next one, general government building. We're looking at a total increase of $36,000. $31,000 of that is our insurance is going up on us. Kind of a big increase, but that's what the insurance company tells us we're going to need for our property insurance, and that includes all properties,
All vehicles,
all vehicles. Okay, cemeteries is staying the same. Next one down, community activities and programs will also be staying the same. Next one is recreation, and that's actually going down $1,500 in total with all the lines, as you can see. There's a couple that go up, but there's a couple that go down for special events and for swim lessons. We're doing 3 sessions instead of 4. Next one is election. So this will be for the 26-27, so as you all could assume, we're going to have a national election, a 2-year national election on that year, on this budget. So you're looking at total increase of $7,600, and that is between salaries for our election officers and for other expenses. Trust fund is staying the same. Next one down, town clerk. We're looking at a total increase of $2,341, and that is salary with a slight increase for dog licenses. Next department line down would be tax collector. Looking at a difference year over year of $1,897. That comes from postage, increased fees for the registry of deeds, and salary. Treasurer, we're looking at a total increase of $525. And that is due to salaries. We're getting a slight decrease in office equipment. Next one is the one people are talking about, and that would be land use. We're taking the planning board, the zoning board, building inspection, and code enforcement, and moving it into this department here. So there will be some transfers from other departments into this to help absorb a little, but obviously we will need to have a new code enforcement officer, building inspector, so there's a salary in there. And there's also an increase for consulting to update the master plan. So year over year, land use. So once again, planning, zoning, building inspection, and code enforcement, all combined into one. We're looking at a difference of $70,824 increase. Next one would be police. And we're looking at some salaries. We're looking at a slight increase in computer support and maintenance for the computer systems for the police department. And we're looking at adding a line for a police cruiser, which is $70,000. So altogether with all increases, we're looking at $103,210. And if I'm not mistaken, the cruiser goes on a 5-year rotation from now on. We get a new one every 5 years, and it's a regular line in the salary.
No, we get
Or,
one every year, and the oldest one goes out on the 5th year.
Okay, so we're
So with the
rotating,
5 cars,
brand
we'll
new
rotate the
one.
new one in and get
every
rid of the
year.
oldest one every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could do it that way. One every 5.
No, we tried that. It didn't work.
All right, next would be special events, and that is going to remain unchanged in this budget. Page 6, we're at health, and health is going up a whopping $200. Next one is fire, ambulance, and forest fire. And there will be no code or building inspections in there. There will, however, be a position, new position for a fire prevention officer. That will be part-time. So taking some wages out, putting some wages in. We've got some other increases, most notably truck maintenance and new equipment. And I believe the new equipment, if I'm not mistaken, Chief, is some of the, is like the hoses and fittings and rescue equipment coming together into that line. So it shows a big increase, but it's because 2 lines are dissolving.
Yeah, we've merged several lines.
So overall, fire department will see an increase of $47,214. Emergency management is going up $15,000, and that is for, is that the
Grants.
grant
Yeah,
match?
matching.
The ability to match grants that we may be, as a town, eligible for. Next one would be highway. We're looking at $50,920 increase. Road maintenance and repairs is going up most notably, along with salaries. And that explains highway. Once again, with the highway also has a block grant. And that will be going up $6,057. Page 7, top or bottom, solid waste and landfill. Goes on to page 8. We're coming out with a grand total of $25,569 in increase. $20,000 of that is for tipping fees. That's disposal.
Yeah.
Disposal of our disposal. Landfill is staying the same. Welfare is going to see a slight increase, and there's going to be a whole bunch, you see some additions and some subtractions there. What you're seeing is us adding, three lines into one, so that we don't break out specific types of aid into electric fuel and just a regular aid. It's all going to be just a regular aid from now on. Next one would be library, and if you scroll down, you see the FICA and the New Hampshire retirement system. You see them in the quotes. That means that's the subtraction that ends up going back into that first employee benefit that I spoke about earlier. We're going to see a little modest increase in building maintenance, and they come out in the negative at $8,405. Our tax anticipated notes interest is not changing. Contingency is not changing. Property taxes are not changing. And that gives us our grand total. As everyone can see, we are looking to increase the budget $516,805 year over year. Are there any questions on the fly, or is that all at the end?
No, we'll do it all at the end. So anybody came in late, we're gonna go through our lines. Jeff's now gonna go into revenues. I'm gonna cover warrant articles, and then we will open the floor for comments, questions, concerns, advice.
All right, so the 26-27 proposed estimates, again, we're in January right now. We still got 6 months to go of this fiscal year of 25-26. You'll notice that there are some that are lower. If they're in parentheses, it means we're expecting less money than we did the previous year. And again, we try to keep this very tight. We are not going to boost it up to make you think that all the revenues that come in are going to offset. We keep it really close, and if we have more come in, it's obviously a benefit to the town, the taxpayers. So again, when you're looking at the land use tax, interest and cost, it's staying the same as zero. The yield tax, we're looking at a 20% reduction, or $5,000. And again, these are only estimates. It's all we can do is estimate at this time, especially 18 months out. Payment in lieu of taxes, right now we estimate a 22% decrease of $23,000. Excavation, that's basically the same. Interest and penalties on delinquent taxes, we've estimated $600 more. The penalties and interest on the past taxes have been paid significantly this past year, and we hope that it continues this upcoming fiscal cycle. Motor vehicle permits and fees, again, that's through the town clerk's office. We're estimating $100,000 in addition to our revenues. Building permits, reduction, and again, we say reduction, we never know. Loudoun's a very busy town for buildings, so it could go up substantially, but we're estimating 14% or $10,000 less for our building permits in 26-27. Other license permits and fees, again, we're looking at a reduction of $4,600 or 28%. Meals and room tax, is a 3% increase by $14,566. Highway block grant, again, as it was mentioned in the budget, that's for the highway department. We're anticipating a 3% increase, or $6,057. State federal forest land reimbursements, 16% increase to $82. Income from departments, looking at a 4% increase, or $900. Garbage refuge charges, it's a 30% increase of $23,200. Other charges, you'll see a 15% increase at $84,950. Sale of municipal properties, we're anticipating an 18% increase, or $1,500. And this next line is interesting, is the interest on investments. So the town invests our money, and we're estimating, if all goes well, the way it's been going, it'll actually go up 900% to $90,000 increase. And then rents and property increase of 113%, or $1,700. Fines and violations stays the same, and miscellaneous revenues minus 5%, or $2,400. So our revenue estimate is $279,055 over the last fiscal year.
Good? Good. Anything else? Good. All right, I'm going to jump into the warrant article section. Article number 3 is, which is probably what we'll be kicking off with. You'll see an adoption of a town motto. The Girl Scouts have come forward and have requested that the town adopt a motto, and they provided with I'll just read it. To see if the town will vote pursuant to RSA 393.3 and RSA 3139 to adopt loud and welcoming community with a big smile as an official town motto. Said motto to be ceremonial in nature only, to have no legal or regulatory effect, and to have no appropriation or expenditure of the town funds or act thereon. The Selectmen recommend this article. And we jump down to Article 4 will be the general municipal operations. And then Article 5 will be raise and appropriate the following to establish capital reserve funds. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,290,000 to be placed in previous established capital reserve funds. Highway Department Capital Reserve Fund, $125,000. Fire Department Capital Reserve Fund, $200,000. Bridge Construction Capital Reserve Fund, $200,000. Roadway Improvements Capital Reserve Fund, $400,000. Ambulance Rescue Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, $100,000. Self-contained breathing apparatus Capital Reserve Fund, $15,000. Alternative Energy Capital Reserve Fund, $30,000. Town Garage Capital Reserve Fund, $200,000. Arthur Colby Safety Complex Upgrade Capital Reserve Fund, $20,000. And when we get into questions, if anybody has a question, I have the actual balances of what's in there now. So Article 6, raise and appropriate for establishes ETFs. To see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $277,000 to be placed in previously established expendable trust funds. Recreation facility maintenance, $2,000. Conservation Commission land, $50,000. Transfer station maintenance, $50,000. Highway equipment, $75,000. Loudon Historical Society and Museum, $50,000. Cemetery maintenance, $10,000. Retiree liabilities, $25,000. Records retentions, $10,000. Police Department, $5,000. Article 7, to see if the town will vote and raise the appropriate the sum of $600,000 for the purpose of purchasing a used aerial fire truck, and to authorize the withdrawal of $600,000 from the Department Capital Reserve Fund created for that purpose. Selectmen recommend this article to go in front of the town. Article 8, modify purpose of cemetery ETF. To see if the town will vote to modify the purpose of existing cemetery maintenance expendable trust funds established under Article 15 of the 2020 town meeting, so that pursuant to RSA 31:19A and RSA 289:2A, all future proceeds received from the sale of cemetery lots in the town of Loudon cemeteries and any interest gained thereon shall henceforth be used for the maintenance, repair, improvement, and preservation of all owned and abandoned cemeteries, including but not limited to monument restoration, groundskeeping, infrastructure repair, and related capital needs, and further to designate the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from this fund. The current balance of the fund shall remain in the fund and be used for revised purposes. 2 3/4 vote.
No, 2/3.
Two-thirds, yeah, two-thirds vote. Now, Article 9 covers a columbarium project that the town is making an effort on. If Article 8 had passed, we wouldn't need Article 9. So, that being said, I'll read it anyways. Article 9, columbarium project. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 for the purpose of purchasing and installing a columbarium, including related site work and improvements, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take any action necessary to complete this project. The Selectmen recommend this article, majority vote required. Estimated tax impact, 3 cents. Article 10, to see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate $268,100 for the purchase of a dump truck with a plow and sander, with $187,670 from a Grant Estate Clean Fleets grant, and to authorize the withdrawal of $80,430 from the Highway Department Capital Reserve Fund. The Selectmen recommend this article, majority vote required. There is no tax impact this fiscal year. Change term of supervisors of checklist to see if the town will vote and adopt the provisions of RSA 4146A, providing that the term of office for supervisors of checklist shall be 3 years, and 1 supervisor elected each year on a 3-year cycle. The Selectmen recommend this article. Majority vote required. Need a break. Article 12, modify veterans disabled tax exemption. To see if the town will vote to modify the current property tax exemption for veterans with a service-connected total disability established under RSA 7235 by increasing the exemption amount from $1,400 to $2,150. The Selectmen recommend this article. Article 13, modify elderly exemptions. Shall the town modify the provisions of RSA 7239A for elderly exemption from property tax in the town of Loudon based on assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be as follows. For a person 65 years of age up to 75 years, $50,000. For a person 75 years of age up to 80 years would be $100,000. For a person 80 years of age or older, $150,000. To qualify, the person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 3 consecutive years, own the real estate individually or jointly, or if the real estate is owned by such person's spouse, they must have been married to each other for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $50,000, or if married, a combined net income of less than $70,000, and own net assets in excess of $120,000, excluding the value of the person's residence. Majority vote required. Adopt CI property tax exemption. This is one we want someone to speak up on, right?
Yes, commercial industrial.
Okay.
He can do that.
Are you
after
gonna?
we're done with it.
Okay. This one, I'll get through all of it.
I would do it all and then.
Okay. So I'm going to read number 14. We are going to come back to 14, and we have someone that wants to speak about that. To see if the town will vote to adopt pursuant to RSA 7281 a new construction property tax exemption for commercial industrial uses, as defined in RSA 7280 and located within a commercial industrial zoning district. The intent of the exemption is to provide incentives to businesses to build, modernize, or enlarge within the town. The exemption shall be granted for a maximum of 50% on an annual basis of the increase in assessed value attributable to the improvements and shall remain in effect for a maximum period of 5 years. The percentage rate and the duration of the exemption shall be granted on a per case basis based on the amount and value of the public benefit provided as determined by the Board of Selectmen. For purposes of this exemption, the term new construction shall mean new structures or additions, renovations, or improvements to existing structures. For purposes of this exemption, the term public benefit shall mean one of the following: enhance economic growth and increase the town's tax base. Creation of needed services or facilities not currently available in the town. redevelopment and revitalize commercial and/or industrial area, prevent or eliminate blight, or retain local jobs, increase local job base and/or provide diversity in the job base. If approved, an exemption shall take effect in the tax year beginning of April 1st, 2026, and shall remain in effect for a maximum of 5 tax years. The Selectmen recommend this article, majority vote required. As I said, we'll go back to that. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to establish a library maintenance expendable trust fund pursuant to RSA 3119A, in which the principal and the interest may be appropriated and expended for the purpose of funding repairs, maintenance, and improvements to the library building and grounds, and raise the appropriate sum of $20,000 to be placed in this fund. Further, to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from this said fund. The Selectmen recommend this article. Estimated tax impact, 2 cents. Article 16, establish a village complex ETF, to see if the town will vote to establish a village complex expendable trust fund pursuant to RSA 3119A, in which the principal and interest may be appropriated and expended for the purpose of funding repairs, maintenance, and improvements to the village town properties, which includes a safety complex, the Maxfield Library, the community building, and town office, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 be placed in this fund, further to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from the said fund. The Selectmen recommend this article, majority vote required, estimated tax impact, 2 cents. And 17, we would jump in to transact any other business. So I will bring it back to, Article 14. We have somebody that is willing to discuss real quickly. It was kind of a long read, so I'm sure he'll clear up some issues.
Thank you. Ned Lazat, Loudon Economic Development Committee. I have a flyer that we've put out in case anybody wants to, there's some copies right here if you want to get a copy to read. So what we've done with the LEDC is we've tried to come up with something that is a tax relief tool for developing the commercial industrial zone in Loudon. So what we have here is, this is for RSA 7281 property tax exemption, and the LEDC has developed a proposal that supports the adoption of the commercial industrial property tax exemption at town meeting for this year. Representatives of the LEDC are going to be available for questions at the 2026-27 budget public hearings, which is for tonight, the 27th, and now the February 6th, which has been moved from the 4th. This tax relief tool is enabled in the state of New Hampshire through NHRSA 7281 and 82. The exemption would allow the Board of Selectmen on a case-by-case basis to provide tax relief for a business to build, rebuild, modernize, or expand within the town. The tax relief is granted on a new municipal and local school property taxes for up to 5 years on a sliding scale, from 50% of the increase in assessed value in year 1 down to 10% of the increase in assessed value in year 5. This delay in tax impact is intended to encourage new businesses to come to Loudon, as well as support existing local businesses looking to improve or expand their operations. The property tax exemption would only be available for commercial and industrial uses within the commercial industrial zoning district along much of New Hampshire Route 106. If RSA 72.81 is approved at town meeting, by the Board of Selectmen would consider approve each exemption request on a case-by-case basis and set the percentage of relief and duration of time, not to exceed the maximums established at town meeting. And below we have an example, just very simple, for how this would work. An example we're using is a company, fictitious company, Loudon Industrial Corporation, is a manufacturing company that builds electrical equipment and machinery and is growing, and they need more space for warehousing. This leads the company to build a small warehouse to meet the growing demand. Their current assessed value is $500,000 and will increase to $600,000 when the new warehouse is finished. Because they took the advantage of the incentive, they were exempt from property taxes on a total of $150,000 of the increased assessment valuation over 5 years. And basically, the illustration below says, In year one, it's 50%, so $550,000 versus the $600,000. Year two, 40%, $560,000 versus the 600. Year three, 30%, $570,000 versus the 6. Year four, 20%, $580,000 versus the 600. Year five, 10%, $590,000 versus 600. And then in year six, it would be the full $600,000 valuation. So, but in every year, the town is receiving increased tax revenue on developed property. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Is, if I could just add, I am on the EDC as well, and we've been doing our best to bring, obviously, business into town along Route 106. In the last few years, I know you've seen Route 106 grow in buildings and businesses, and after meeting with, Merrimack, oh my God, I'm having a brain cramp here. The economic development people, Mike Tardif, Central New Hampshire, that's it. Central New Hampshire, regional planning. We've been working with them since I've been on the board there at EDC, attempting to find other avenues that we can try to draw people from business world into Route 106. So if you take, say, for instance, even just across the street at Route 129, you're getting taxes on an empty lot of maybe $1,200. Someone who builds a building, like Dollar General comes in, and now their tax evaluation, even cutting them in half, is probably 30 times more than what you were making on an empty lot. So it's a benefit to the town, even to start off at 50% of their assessed value. You're still making a whole lot of money, it's a whole lot of revenue. And again, we all know that we can't have big businesses because we don't have sewer, we don't have water. So they've got to fend for themselves on that. So that is kind of a deterrent. But there are still businesses, very clean businesses, obviously, that are willing to come out here. Place up just beyond the Beanstalk store, okay? Big place that put light in the air, okay? That place is scheduled. They've already come to planning. It was over a year ago now, but they're planning to expand that double. So what they're paying for that empty lot right beside the buildings that are there is minimal compared to what they're going to invest into the town. You know, when somebody tries to invest $7 million into the town and brings that tax revenue into the town by giving them a 50% shake on the first year, 40, 30, 20, and 10, and then they're full boat on the sixth year, that's only a benefit to the town.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Any other follow-ups on any of those other from the board? Good. You want to report the final number if all this got approved and what the tax would be?
Yeah, the rough estimate is $12.35, and that's just the estimate. That's if everything was to pass. And again, when you're looking at the revenues, and I know Roger, who's sitting in the crowd, knows this, the revenues that we bring on a yearly basis will cover more than half of what we're looking at for the operating budget. I mean, that's a trend that's happened over the years, and the revenues that we do bring in cover more than half of what we're looking at. And again, this has no reflection on Merrimack Valley. That is its own little animal. But I think with the support the taxpayers had last year and their input at the meeting at Merrimack Valley, I think we may have curbed their generosity to themselves and are worried more about what they're putting forward to the taxpayers here in Loudon.
Anything else? Good? 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 Okay, I will now open the floor up for questions or comments. And
Rodney Phillips, 143 Clough Road. I noticed in the January 8th Selectmen's work session minutes that non-permanent part-time employees will not receive the 1.5% COLA budgeted for full-time and permanent part-time employees, of which we have 3. Loudon is fortunate to have the personnel we do have. over the past few years, especially retaining employees has been a challenge. We frequently see postings for new open positions, and hear from department heads that filling open positions is not always easy. Loudon has roughly twice as many non-permanent part-time staff as full-time. These non-permanent part-time are critical for allowing Loudon to provide the necessary services while keeping payroll budgets as low as possible. Last year's annual report listed just under 40 non-permanent part-time staff. In fact, in spite of having to manage more people when employing multiple part-time staff actually saved the town of Loudon money. Part-time staff receive no benefits, no holidays, no vacation, no sick leave, no medical insurance. I went through last year's budget and added up all the part-time wage lines. I did leave out the $36,396 for solid waste and landfill part-time, because a couple of the part-time staff at the transfer station are indeed permanent and probably take up most of that line item. All of the other part-time wage lines add up to $304,654. A tiny 1.5% COLA based on last year's budget, minus the solid waste and landfill part-time, would be a grand total of $4,569.81. It seems to me that a very small amount, that would be a very, very small amount to pay to show the appreciation for the critical role part-time staff play to help Loudon provide necessary services. Speaking for myself, I just put in just under 40 hours from Sunday afternoon till this morning, with little sleep. Russ calls me, I show up. 9 p.m., 2 a.m., doesn't matter. I'm a very dependable, non-permanent part-time employee. None of our part-time staff work here because they have nothing else to do. Many of them work multiple part-time jobs to help make ends meet. We need to retain all of our part-time staff, and providing this small COLA can only help do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah. You don't have to wait, just come on up.
Honestly embarrassed to be here. I just worked 60 hours straight and didn't realize it was tonight, Tuesday. I just wanted to come out real quickly. I do have 2 petitions if anyone's interested in signing tonight, and they have to do with the school district. One is to ask them to reconsider the Washington Street cost of remodeling. The second is to request that we go SB2, which would allow everything to go onto a ballot. And I feel, we're at the point where a lot of people can't get the babysitter, they have to work, or they're elderly and they can't stand to sit. And so the benefit of the SB2 is that everything would be deliberated, everyone would decide what they want, and then it would go on to the ballot for everyone to vote on. And I think that would open it up to a lot more of our citizenry to participate. The other piece was, I just actually sent it to the other 2 trustees of the trust, if we could get published for the community what's in each of our NHD accounts currently, so everyone understands what's currently there. I just think that transparency and sharing that information, I think we did last town meeting, had it available for everyone, but I noticed it wasn't out here tonight. So maybe that's something as a trustee of the trust we can make sure is making, we're getting that out to everybody. But just want to let everyone know, I felt, there might be a little bit of a crowd here, so if I could gather Louisa Andres in Salisbury is running the charge for the 2 for the school district. And I think you're right. I think last year everyone showing up and saying these property tax increases are not sustainable long-term. I know for me, my property tax is more than my mortgage. And when I bought my house 20 years ago, I never envisioned that to be the case. So 20 years from now, when I go to retire at age 70, I can only imagine what that's going to feel like. So I think everyone having the opportunity to vote is a good thing. So if you're interested in signing that, anyone in the crowd that's listening or anyone that's watching online, track me down. We've got to get those turned in by Friday. Thank you.
You want me to go ahead and read it, what's in the accounts? I have it all.
I think this is just the ETFs. This isn't complete of what the trustees have.
It's most of it.
It's most of it, but it's not
library,
all
but
of it.
there's a couple of line
Because of
items.
the finance and stuff like that. Like the interest on each one of them, how much we earn. And that is on my revenue form, but it's not spelled out.
Yeah, that's just the balance. at the
On
end
the
of
capital
last
reserves
month.
and ETFs,
Yes,
right.
correct.
Well, so just to clear up any issues, I'm going to, I'll read off the capital reserve and expendable trust fund balances currently right now. Fire department CRF, there's $832,026.69. And again, I'm reading this off, going to be quick about it because you'll have the video to go back and refresh everybody's memory. Highway department CRF, $349,002.66. Library building fund CRF, 15 cents. Bridge CRF, $241,549.49. Recreational Facility Maintenance Trust, $4,632.52. Roadway Improvements CRF, $332,264.96. Library Collection ETF, $67,986.71. Joe Cape Memorial Van CRF, $80,758.84. Ambulance Rescue CRF, $316,048.53. Conservation Committee Land ETF, $236,832.63. Landfill Maintenance, $51,320.23. Transfer Station Maintenance ETF, $123,010.15. Highway Equipment ETF, $198,124.62. Self-contained breathing app CRF, $101,139.41. Alternative energy CRF, $73,666.24. Town garage CRF, $516,508.71. Cemetery maintenance ETF, $60,768.53. Arthur Colby Safety Complex upgrade CRF, $75,666.18. Historical Society Museum CRF, $148,213.34. Retiree liabilities ETF, $51,278.32. Records retention ETF, $10,140.74. Police Department equipment ETF, $5,070.39. And what are we missing out of that? Which?
Most of it's there.
Most of it. So, we're, floor is still open if anybody would like to comments, questions, concerns.
We're fighting about it. Me, of course. Yeah, Roger, Maxfield, Currier Road. Just to shoot on from what Selectman Merrill said on revenue, everyone knows that the tax collector gets the most, but also the town clerk and the ambulance gets a substantial amount of revenue each year, and it does offset the budget about 50%. On page 4 of the budget, just a quick clarification, under land use, planning, zoning, building code, I assume the land use administrator is Lindsay Roy. Is that a new title? Just a new title for her? Sure. And the code enforcement / building inspector, did you say that was part-time or full-time job?
Be a part-time job.
Part-time, so you're going to advertise for that? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate
I was
it.
going to say, we planned that for 30 hours.
Thank you.
At this time, we're not sure exactly whether it's going to be part-time or full-time, but to establish it, we need to have some money, and if we start them at 30 hours at the money figure, that should be able to allow, at least get us through the first fiscal year and see where they have to go from there.
Thank you.
Andrew Perella, 105 Les Maurice. I noticed most years, in the 18 years that I've been living in town, we usually have a warrant article that recommends the withdrawal of money to pave a road or indeed multiple roads in town. I noticed there isn't one this year. I'm just curious what conversations and decisions were made that we are not doing any particular maintenance on a road this year.
So the road agent brought to our attention 2 roads that were in need of repairing, and it was kind of the same road, only one was shorter than the distance. And I think our opinion on that was we understand there could be a housing project or development coming in and off that road, and our choice to not move forward on either one of those would affect, we put a brand new road in, what's going to happen with these trucks putting this new housing development in. So that was going to be a concern. They're going to chew it up, they're going to ruin the road, however. So we decided this year just to bank the money and then do more next year.
Okay, thank you.
Stanley Prescott, 424 Lovejoy Road. Article 8 and 9. I'm a little disappointed. I was the author of the 2020 cemetery proposal. They got passed. I understand what you're trying to do. There's 6 acres up at the cemetery here in the village. And you could lay out lots for crematorium and 2 grave lots and 4 grave lots and sell them. You could then pay for the columbarium. But I think what you're trying to do is to be able to take some of that $57,000 and pay the other amount that's left. And I would like to see you reconsider what you're doing, because there's a lot of stones that are knocked over in all the cemeteries. So
my understanding, Stanley, is that there's about $60,000 in that account. And then that account, the way it's worded and the way it's set up, we can't use that $60,000 to go in and reset stones and.
yes, you can. That's what it was for.
I believe we cannot.
I disagree with you.
Okay, and I'm not saying you're wrong, and
Yeah, that's fine. I
I'm
respect.
just saying that I think our advice, what we've received from advice on this whole thing was based on how it's worded, that 60,000 cannot go in and can't. I'll give you another scenario. There are some sites that we're not sure how many people are in this site. So we would require us to get someone to come in and do an ultrasound or do something to this site to find out how many actually people do we have in here, right? And to see if they all belong, and does this one belong here or whatever, because it's a pretty cramped space. In order to do that, it's going to take money, and then we looked into it, and the way it's worded, we can't use that 60,000 to do that. That's the
Well-
reason why we wanted to move that 60,000 to be, for whatever happens in those cemeteries, it feeds itself. It'll feed its maintenance, it'll feed the mowing, it'll feed anything we have to do there. And then number 9, that columbarium project would not have to go, it wouldn't be 25,000 for that project, because we wouldn't need it, because we would have the money above to be able to spend to put that in there. Granted, why you understand, you know that area better than anybody, and I understand there's some spots left, but there won't always be some spots left.
Yeah.
One other thing is, I think, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, but I'm pretty sure the town of Loudon could be faced with the decision to take over another cemetery that they currently don't have. So that is a pretty good sized cemetery, and then if we can't use this for maintenance, then we have a problem.
Well, I guess I would say if you look into it, I understand what you're saying as far as there's lots at the cemetery that we mostly know who's where, okay? There's some lots that we don't have any record that anything was sold, but we did have somebody come and go around and probe, and they said, oh, there's somebody here in this lot. And if you look at the map, you'll see that we said that we did that. So I just wish you'd rethink it a little bit, and I will be back to you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Fire Chief.
The other thing that we've found is there was a lot of perpetual care accounts when you look in the book every year, and the trustees know this as well, and you know it as well. To get that money, the legal process to get that money out of the perpetual care account so that you can apply it towards maintenance is a lot of work to do it the way the AG's office requires it. It's I'm not gonna say impossible, but it's gonna take a few people a lot of time, because you have to measure the square footage of each lot that has a perpetual care account attached to it, and there's a formula you have to use based on the cost of mowing per square foot for each individual lot that has perpetual care. So the recommendation that came out at the New Hampshire Cemetery Association meeting when the AG's office put on the presentation last spring was to think about reworking accounts that you have in existence like this so that you could deposit that money into this account to help offset your maintenance costs moving forward without having all of the trouble of trying to get that money out of those perpetual care accounts. And if you look at the dollar amounts and the perpetual care amounts, and Therese might know this off the top of her head, I mean, some of them, they earn very little bit of interest every year. So you're gonna be doing a whole lot of work to get 41 cents off some of them. Some of them are large, but that was the reason why. It was to help try to get this back over there, because the cemetery maintenance line that we currently have, as you know, we're pretty much using that all up just in mowing, trimming, spring and fall cleanup. It doesn't leave us anything in there to do anything else with.
Well, the initial thought with the 2020 warrant article was that it builds up some money, so at the end, if you had $100,000, you could take that interest every year and do what work here and there, and you should be able to take care of the cemetery to help offset what you're talking about. Somebody needs to be able to talk with somebody at the Attorney General's office or Justice Department to see exactly. I was involved for over 40 years in that cemetery. I know exactly what you're talking about. So, but I say, sell some more lots and change that it doesn't go for a particular lot, it goes to the whole cemetery. That will help you.
Anybody else? No? Okay, I will close the public input portion of this public hearing. Does the board have anything else?
Oh, I'm good.
Chief Blanchett, anything else?
I do not.
Road Agent Westboro, anything? Chief Flanders? No. Brenda? I just want to reiterate one, we did have a date change, so the date change is going to be, because our second budget hearing was going to be Wednesday, February 4th. That's also the day of the school meeting. So now we've changed our meeting to Thursday, February 5th. Just a little reminder for yourself, so people can attend each meeting. Thank you for coming. I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 6:57 PM.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Selectman Griffin at 6:57 PM, seconded by Selectman Miller. All in favor?